Hey everyone, this is Braxton from the Writing Center. Today we are going to talk about rhetorical analyses. So a rhetorical analysis refers to an in-depth examination of how an author portrays his or her argument or message. Now it's different from a summary. A summary focuses on what was said, but a rhetorical analysis focuses on how it was said. So again, it's the difference between what and how. Summary is what, analysis is how. Let's compare the two. So here's a summary to start off with. Jones discusses the deforestation of the Amazon and its negative effects on the world's climate. Here's the rhetorical analysis. By citing a variety of highly qualified professors and ecologists, Jones employs overwhelming ethos to further advance his argument. So let's look at the difference here. In the summary, we just say what Jones said. Jones talks about deforestation of the Amazon. Great. Rhetorical analysis, on the other hand, though, focuses on how he said it. So he said it by citing a variety of highly qualified professors to advance his ethos. So he's using ethos by citing professors and ecologists, and that's how he went about writing his argument. So remember, again, this is the main point. A summary discusses what, an analysis discusses how. Now we need to talk about rhetorical appeals, because usually when we're doing a rhetorical analysis, we are looking at, again, how it was written, and usually we break things down into appeals, and that's how. So the first one is ethos, and that refers to writers' abilities to portray themselves as credible sources of information. So by building up your ethos, you are trying to present yourself as someone who can be trusted, someone who's knowledgeable in what they're discussing. And that's really important because usually when we look at a rhetorical analysis, we're examining how an author portrays themselves and whether or not they portray themselves as being knowledgeable. Your next rhetorical appeal is logos, which refers to writers' abilities to construct logical arguments without mistakenly developing logical fallacies. So, if we're doing a rhetorical analysis and we want to look at logos, we need to figure out if the author's argument, if what they're saying is logical. Does it make sense? Does it employ logical fallacies? And then finally we have pathos, which refers to writers' abilities to manipulate their readers' emotions, fear, anger, sympathy, in order to persuade. And this is a big one as well. We see this a lot in contemporary writing, and it's something that should be analyzed as well. If the author is trying to make the reader feel scared, well, then they're using pathos. If the writer is trying to make the reader feel angry, then they're using pathos. And these can be done really subtly, but it's just as important. So, effective arguments oftentimes employ all three of the aforementioned appeals in order to persuade. So when you're writing a rhetorical analysis, you need to keep in mind that they're most likely using ethos, logos, and pathos. They usually won't just use one. Usually authors will use all three. Now, your goal when you write an analysis, you need to figure out which rhetorical appeals an author used and how they use them. Also, something we forgot to put in this presentation is why they use them. So you're figuring out what they did, how they appealed, you're figuring out how they use them and why they use them. And you are going to discuss that through the entirety of your analysis. That's what your analysis is going to be about. You want to avoid summary, and obviously you'll need a little bit for your paper to make sense, but you aren't talking about what was said, you're talking about how they said it. So if you need extra help, check out the handout for this tutorial, or feel free to come into the Writing Center and meet with one of our tutors. We have a lot of people here who can help you out with this, who are great at writing rhetorical analyses. But again, thank you so much for watching, and we hope that we will either see you in the Writing Center or that you'll take the time to check out a couple more of our tutorials.